Gapping the top end of your golf bag is probably one of the hardest parts of completing your set, so we're going to get into that right now. Alright, hey guys, this is Brady and Tyson with Golf Ascending, and if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe and press that little notification bell because we do create weekly golf content. And like I said, today we are talking about gapping the top end of your bag. There are a lot of options for you out there, and that's probably why it's so difficult. So we'll start off with, what is the top end of your bag?
All right, so typically a golf bag consists of a driver, and then you've got a fairway wood, and then you have an iron set. Now, usually that is pitching wedge up to either 5-iron or 4-iron, and then you've got some wedges. Now, I'm going to go back up to the irons, okay? Now, that longest iron, that 4 or 5-iron, we're going to be talking about the gap between that and the fairway wood, and that is what we are going to call the top end of your bag. Now, why is something like this important? Generally, we're needing distance in that area, right? There's a big gap of distance between a fairway wood and a 4-iron or a 5-iron. So we need to cover some ground, as well as maybe we need a specific job for our club to do. Maybe we need something to hit off the tee really low. Maybe we need something to hit really high and land on a green. Maybe we need something to hit out of the rough with. You know, it just all kind of depends on what you need in your bag. So to kind of touch on the clubs that are available, because there are many, Brady mentioned this, you know, you can go with another fairway wood. You could go with a hybrid. You could go with a utility iron, or you could just go with another iron as a part of your iron set. So let's get into some of these special use cases for a club in the top end. Brady and I both have some experience in there and some personal preferences as well.
Alright, so we're going to get into the specifics of each club that you can use to gap the top end of your bag and kind of the job that they do. And to do that, we're going to share both of our experiences, so make sure to stay tuned for Tyson as he shares his, because his is way different than mine and it might relate more to you. But we've gone through a lot of clubs, we've tested a lot of things. I mean, we have our golf channel, and so we want to test a bunch of clubs. We want to get our set as complete as it can be. So my journey kind of started off with your typical set. I had the driver, 3-wood, 5-wood, and then I had the 4 to pitching wedge in my iron set, and then other wedges. But I found that I could not hit my 4-iron very well, so I just took it out. And so I was basically playing with 13 clubs for a while until I heard about the hybrid. So the hybrid is a pretty cool, versatile club. There are so many things you could do with it, from chipping to hitting out of the rough, and that's actually what a lot of people like a hybrid for. It's a great club for hitting out of the rough. It's a great rescue club, and for me, when I got that, I loved it, because not only did it replace my 4-iron that I didn't hit very well, it also was kind of my savior for when I couldn't hit my 5-iron that well. My 5-iron would give me troubles, and if I had a ravine to hit that was like 185 yards away, I would never trust my 5-iron. I would put that away and I'd go with the hybrid. And if that meant I had to choke down on the club a little bit to take off 10 yards, I would go with the hybrid every day. So I went to a hybrid, and that fit well within my gap, and I still had the 5 and 3 wood. Later on, I actually toyed with a utility iron, and I have one right here. Utility iron, it's better for that low flighted ball that will just keep rolling, and it's great for playing in the wind. And it's kind of a safer club too. It has a little less, generally less dispersion than a hybrid. And so I toyed with the utility iron, and it kind of was something I liked having in the bag, especially as kind of like a driving iron. If I wasn't hitting my woods well that day, or my driver, it was that other option. I could hit an iron-like club. But for a time, Tyson, he told me, dude, you should get rid of your hybrid. There's some other options you should try. I don't think this is a club for you. We even tried like the TaylorMade Gapper. That's kind of like a in-between of a utility iron and a hybrid. So we tried multiple different things, and what essentially got me to getting rid of the hybrid was, as some of you know, I switched to single plane golf swing, and I got all 1-length clubs, and there is a 1-length in utility irons. And I felt like the hybrid is one different club that you swing slightly different than your irons. You swing it slightly different than your woods. And for me, the single plane and the 1-lengths, I wanted consistency across the board. I wanted to simplify my bag. And so for me, it made sense to get a utility iron that was the same length as my 7-iron, and it's something that is more comfortable to hit, and then I don't have to have that hybrid that plays different. Now, what I changed to kind of have a similar club to the hybrid, to still get that height and to kind of have a rescue club, is I actually got rid of my 5 wood and switched it in for a 7 wood. And so the 7 wood, it goes a little bit higher and it sits on greens a little bit better. And I think it even sits greens a little better than hybrids. And then you still have, well, for me, I still have the same swing with the woods, but it's a little bit closer to a hybrid, as well as the utility iron. And so for me, 5 wood, getting rid of that made sense. And I actually put a 5 wood shaft on my 7 wood, so it gets a little bit more distance and kind of helps with that gap between my 7 wood and my 3 wood. And so that is kind of my journey and how I got there. I went from playing 13 clubs, so I didn't like the 4 iron, to the hybrid, down to a utility iron, and now, and these are getting more popular, is the 7 wood or heaven wood. It is a pretty cool club. So that's kind of my experience with gapping my bag, and that could be similar to yours, and maybe you should test out some of these clubs if you haven't yet. But let's now get to Tyson, because his story is a lot different than mine.
All right, so my experience gapping the top end. So when I, started playing more seriously in golf, I did fill my bag, I guess, complete with 14 clubs, but I mainly did it as kind of like, I saw what most people did and I kind of just threw those clubs in my bag. So I had at the time, driver, 3 wood, 5 wood, and then I had a 4 through pitching wedge and then some wedges. Now, this might work for some people. It is pretty standard to kind of go that route, but like we're mentioning, not all these clubs are meant for everybody. Mm-hmm. Some people can't hit fairway wood, some people can't hit low irons. And so, as I started kind of tinkering with my bag and figuring out what I actually liked, I think the biggest thing was finding the set of irons that I loved. Okay, so I actually came across these little guys. These are the Titleist 718 CBs. You guys can check out more info on those in my What's in the Bag, but I love these things. Okay, these things, I got my first hole-in-one with them. I just strike them really well. They feel super good off the face. So once finding those and then kind of gapping my wedges out at the bottom, I kind of, looked into the specs a little bit more to see, okay, what is the loft on my highest iron? And at the time, I struck the 4 iron very well in the set. So I was keeping the 4 iron in my bag. So the 4 iron in the Titleist 718 CBs, the loft is 23 degrees, 23 or 24, somewhere around there. So I needed to find something in between that and a 3 wood. Okay, so I did a lot of tinkering around with utility irons. I tried a ton. I think I tried probably most of them on the market.
Oh man, a lot. Mizuno, Titleist, to
TaylorMade. So I mean, and yep. I figured I would try these utility irons out because I'm a pretty good iron striker. And I just didn't find the one that fit with my swing. I don't think it was the problem of the utility iron. I did get some good shots out of them, but there was something with consistency. Something similar to kind of what Brady was going through at the single plane. He wanted to kind of get a consistent look. He didn't want to change things up a ton. And so having a utility iron that was, looked a lot different than my irons and then my fairway wood, was something that was, I think, just mentally just throwing me off. So after trying out, all these utility irons, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try to throw the stock 3 iron in the bag. So this is just the Titleist 718 3 iron. I got to swing it a good amount, and the consistency was so much better with this just because when I lined it up over the ball, it essentially looked like my 4 and my 5 iron. And so it wasn't anything different mentally when I was over the ball, and so I was getting very similar results as that. Now, another addition that I made in the bag, because the 3 iron goes so low, I wanted another club to essentially get me some distance but get some height. Now, you guys know I'm a pretty good iron striker. I tinkered around with that. I also tinkered around with hybrids, and hybrids were not for me. What ended up with the hybrids is I ended up snap hooking them. I could not fix the hook with the hybrid. I don't know why. It just would always go right. So it was just like, you know what? Maybe the hybrid isn't for me. So I looked into other options, and like Brady, I kind of fell in love with the 7-wood. And kind of the beauty of the 7-wood is that it's exactly like the 3-wood, except for just a little bit more lofted. And it's a little more friendlier behind the ball when you're hitting off the deck or in the rough. And so what's really cool is, you know, you can hit, for me, I can hit this 7-wood from, you know, if I'm 220 from the flag, I know I can hit this thing and it'll actually look like a 9-iron going up super high, and it will land super soft on greens. So it's super versatile. I've found that I can cut corners over trees with it that I normally wouldn't be able to do, just because no club can get that height. So, you know, that's one of the use cases, you know, that we talk about that have a specific job. So the 7-wood is very special in that aspect. Now, kind of jumping back over to irons and hybrids, okay, I'm going to talk about, you know, why something like this might be beneficial in your bag. One of the reasons I liked the low iron or the utility iron I was trying to make work is because I wanted a T club. I wanted something that was going to be a low penetrating roller in the fairway, just a fairway finder. And so that's why I kind of wanted to find that. Now, you guys are probably thinking, okay, Tyson, you've got, you know, your 4-through pitching wedge, you've got a 3-iron, a 7-wood, and a 3-wood. How on earth do you have that much room for clubs in the top end of your bag? And here's what I'm gonna tell you. So you have some options here, okay? Some wiggle room that you might have is at the bottom of the bag, okay? You know, if you struggle more with, you know, certain types of shots or maybe certain distances at the top than you do at the bottom, maybe you take a wedge out of the bag. You know, I know everywhere is saying you need 3 wedges. You know, even Bob Vokey is saying you need to have 4 wedges in your bag. But guess what? I just don't think that that's for everybody. You know, in my bag currently, I actually just play a 52 degree and a 60 degree. Now, the reasons for this is these irons that I have, they're very traditional lofted. So the pitching wedge is actually closer to most gap wedges. So it's a 47 degree pitching wedge. So moving into, like, you know, gap wedge and then a lob wedge, I really was only missing that 56 degree, which, you know, yeah, it's a 100-yard club, but I could produce the same thing essentially with the gap wedge that I could the 56 degree. So I just found there were more use cases for me on the course with the 3-iron. So, you know, maybe this is something that you guys look into if you have the 3-wedge setup or a 4-wedge setup. You know, just because, you know, people are telling you, yeah, you need 3 wedges, you know, maybe explore a little bit. Maybe, you know, take note on your scorecard how often you're using each club. You know, maybe you're not using a wedge as much as you would like to. And so maybe that's something worth, you know, considering putting something at the top end of the bag. Another thing to maybe take note of, maybe on your scorecard, is, you know, if you find yourself in a situation where you are 200 plus yards out, you need something to land a green with, but you don't have a club in your bag that does it. Maybe it's worth looking into, investigating, seeing what's going to benefit me in my game. But I think just kind of in short, me and Brady wanted to create this video to let you know there are options out there. And, you know, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Not everybody should be playing the same clubs. You know, some people have greater strengths in some areas than other people, and some people have weaknesses, you know, that you need to cover. So definitely take a look at your bag, evaluate to yourself, what am I using, and then, you know, make the adjustments in those gaps, you know, in the bottom, in the top, and really complete that bag for the game and style of play that you like to do. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe. We upload golf content every week, and we'll see you next time.